If you've ever wondered how attribution works for meta ads or brand building, I think it's really important for you to understand the customer journey. So I'm going to demonstrate that with a little bit of a whiteboard session here. So let's get going. This is free form, guys. I'm giving you just off the cuff. Okay, so first of all, you've got your customer, right? So they exist here. Usually it's a middle-aged housewife. And that is ultimately who we need to convince of something. Now, she is going to go forward in life until she hits a problem point. That problem point is usually the time that she goes, oh, snap, I need a plumber. So then what we need to do is we typically have there's two paths, and this is one of them. Okay. So we can reach her at that problem point right now. How do you do that? You do that with lead generation. So lead generation is going to be like GLSA, it's going to be PPC or search ads. It's going to be, like a lead aggregator, which is going to be like Thumbtack, Angie's, things like that. Because she's gone to a place to find a plumber. Now, there's a couple problems with this model right here. This problem is if we're going to advertise to her right here, what do we have? There's no loyalty, there's no trust, but you also have this problem. You've got a whole bunch of other things coming in from other companies, and you might be one of them. So this might be you, but now this is a competition, right? And so is this, and so is this, and so is this, because you're all throwing ads at the person at their time of problem. Now that means they have an incredible amount of choice. So if your reviews aren't very high, or if your brand isn't trusted, of course, all these other competitors have a moment where they can get in there and say, well, no, pick me instead. So it's a competitive zone, and you have to win it like it's a competitive zone. And that's really, really hard. And think about now supply and demand for platforms like Google, especially because now what you have is, what do you have? You have a zone that Google can say, hey, we're going to charge you all as much as you're willing to fight for it. And so that's why that gets really expensive. So now that's one way you can attack the problem, right? Now, another way is this right in here. Okay. This area is also a spot where you can send advertising. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down here, okay? And we're going to expand on what that part of the deal is. Okay, so what we have is we have her go down. Let's say you run meta ads, okay? You've got billboards, you've got mailers, you've got YouTube ads, you've got what else could you put in here? Good. One of my favorites is Google display ads, which I don't feel like people talk enough about. But so you've got all these things. Now, these are going to her before she ever gets to needing a plumber, right? So then you're going to go in there and you're going to start dropping some messaging. Now, what that messaging is also part of the plan. So if you go down, what kind of messaging can we throw in here? We can throw in reviews. Further telling people you're good at what you do. You can throw in entertainment because that's what they go into the platforms anyway. So if they're on social, for instance, they aren't there just for the fun of it. They're there for entertainment. And so if you give that, that's a value. That's a value to them. And so you're building an association of happy, good feelings with why they're on the platform and your company. So you have entertainment, you have tips, which is another form of value, right? Telling them hey, do these things before you call a plumber. Because maybe you can save some money. That's you putting them first before they ever come to you. So that builds some good credibility. Let's see, reviews, entertainment, tips, and you might run some offers here. Honestly, offers can work, but again, they aren't going to be capitalized on immediately. You're going to have to wait for them to have a problem on those offers. But basically what you're doing is you're building a whirlwind here for them. Oh, one thing I don't want to miss here is I really like humor at this step. That could fall under the entertainment guys as well. But what do these things do? Okay. It's really important to understand what you're doing here. What you're doing here is you're using all these things to build trust, credibility, all right, and lastly, authority. Now, authority is really important, but what does this all sound like? If you box these things up and you package them, what would you call that? I know what I'd call it because I'm doing it right now, right? I'm offering tips, I'm offering entertainment, whatever. I'm trying to build my authority and credibility. But really, I want you to stop thinking for a moment about your business as your business and think about it as relationship. Okay? I'm building a relationship and I'm building it on the personality that all of this creates. Because I want them to be so in tune with my business. I want you to be so in tune with my business that if you need marketing help, you're going to call me the same way that you want. If this person comes into a plumbing problem, they're going to call you. I don't want you to search SEO expert, PPC expert, marketing for plumbers expert. I don't want you to search all that. I want you to search Mammoth Marketing, Tyler Williams, subtle plug. And you need to be thinking about the same thing because what we're doing here is we're controlling the dynamics of the psychology of the market. Okay, to change the behavior of the market in order to skip this big problem of showing them the competition when you really don't want to be inside of that game as much as possible. Doesn't mean you have to play it a little bit, but you want to try and skip that step. So now you got to remember that all of these lead to the job, right? Or the phone call. Let's just say the lead because there's a lot that happens after that. But so now both of these lead to it. Okay. Now in here, you are judged by the nature of your competition. And most of you are going to have a lot of competition. And so that creates a problem where you might not even get the lead. But then once you get the lead, they know they have a lot of other options. So then converting the lead becomes really hard, right? So if you have your job here. So if you go through this route, like it's going to be really hard to convert that lead because they know there's other options. So that's where you get your price conscientious folks and things like that. Now, if we go up through the other way, you know that they're going to come with a couple things. They're going to know you're a 5-star plumber, but really it comes down to they have trust, they know you're credible, and that you have authority, right? Think about how that changes the dynamic in here. They're going to convert so much easier, so much cheaper than if they come to you after looking at everybody else in the market. And so this is largely done through meta ads, it's done through brand building and all this. Now, how do you track the stinking thing? Now that you understand the journey, right? And this all right in here, by the way, this here, this is the messy middle. And marketers like that term because it talks about attribution and how it's really, really hard to understand, like, well, how many touch points does it take? What platforms are they seeing you on? And usually there's a bunch of them. It's not one, right? So it might be all of these platforms in here. And so we don't have a way of being able to tell with all the different devices, all the different accounts that people are using. Some people are using like VPNs and things like that. It just gets very, very complex to try and track everything down to a T. So you have to look for signals elsewhere. Now, where do you look for those signals? Well, you look for it at the lead side. So let's go signals, right? Now, if you're going for lead gen, it's very easy to say, okay, this came from PPC, this came from Yelp, Thumbtack, whatever, because there's phone numbers you can track and all that. But with the messy middle, there's this giant period of inaction because you're advertising to them, again, here before the problem ever comes in. And so what ends up happening is they end up like, it's almost impossible to track, at least track accurately. And if you ask them, what are they going to tell you? They're going to tell you the last thing, what we call the last point of attribution. So what is the last point of attribution for any of these things? Well, it's not any of those things because all of these things lead people to your GMB, or GBP is actually the proper term, Google Business Profile, and website, right? And that is really a subsequent of branded searches, meaning they are Googling your name. And that's really what you want. Now, so what you want to look for is an increase in branded searches over time. But because some people are still going to search plumber near me and go into this, and you're going to get a click because they have come to, they like you have built up trust, credibility, and authority, but they go plumber and then you show up in the list. Well, guess what gets cheaper? Your PPC, your LSA, all that, it gets cheaper and you get more leads out of it. So that gets better when you're doing these other things. And then if these other things are working as they should, and trust me, they'll work, it just takes time, then your signals are going to be your Google Business Profile and your website. Now, what does that sound like? That sounds a whole lot like SEO. So I have noticed that there is a misattribution of the work that brand building will do for a company into SEO. That doesn't mean that SEO isn't true by itself, but when you have the messy middle involved, when you're seeing branded searches go up, when you're seeing all those things, like that ends up being SEO traffic. And what's cool about doing all of the brand building in this big loop here is that you're also going to feed your SEO regardless of how things are attributed, because your if people are Googling you, you're going to get higher time on page. Google's going to have more positive signals, and things like that. So that's how the attribution works. But what does it do to the actual conversion rate too? Well, on the job now, because you're coming in with the trust, credibility, and authority, you can charge higher prices, right? You'll get more yeses here. You'll also get more reviews. Because if you are capturing the market right, they're going to love to leave you a review just like all their neighbors did. So that is how all of this can be put together. And a lot of people tend to look at one platform over another. And I really want to have you avoid thinking that one thing is going to work for your business, because it doesn't. You're going to have a few like flashes in the pan and a few silver bullets over like decades, but for the most part, it's the steady consistency of brand building and proper marketing that goes out to really change the psychology of the market that's going to build your business. So I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you want somebody from my team to look at your marketing, go to mammothforplumbers.com and schedule a consult. We do it for free. And it's an hour long, and we'll tell you like, hey, here's what we would work on if we were you. And we'll tell you what our services are, but no pressure to buy anything. Anyway, you have a good one.
Schedule your free marketing consult at mammothforplumbers.com. Mammoth Marketing. Mammoth Marketing. Schedule your free marketing consult at mammothforplumbers.com.